me. And I owe a lot to my mother and father, but my mother was really something. She said, you stand on the principles that you believe in. Now, I think that's always a little bit dangerous because you don't want to become self-righteous. That's why I have friends that I check with, my close friends, because you don't ever want to be self-righteous, but I can tell you this. My mother was right. You stand for what you believe in. Guess who I communicate that to? Two 16-year-old daughters that I can't wait to see tonight. That's what I try to tell them. Let me tell you another thing. We want politicians to stand on principle, and then whenever they do, if it's not the principle we like, we're not so much into them standing on principle. I can tell you that when you stand on principle, sometimes you're all alone. And that's cool, because at the end of the day, it's just you and the mirror. Well, you, the mirror, and the Lord. That's the way I look at it. And you got to be comfortable. We came into office in 2011. We had a very rocky time. I was a congressman when I was elected governor. My wife said, you're the father of Ohio, John. Why don't you act like it? We went through a very tough time on Senate Bill 5. Why? We overreached. Didn't listen. Didn't unify. It was really tough. When the campaign started, a lot of the people that wanted me to push that, I couldn't find them with a flashlight. And I traveled all over Ohio. And I took a beating. I never backed down. And when we lost, I said, we lost. I've learned. From that day forward, I figured out I needed to be the father of Ohio. Being the father of Ohio doesn't mean you sit down at a family dinner and you fight with one another. What I learned in Ohio is that you got to bring people together. You have to unify the family. You think about what's been happening in this state. One of my longtime aides, Scott Milburn, said something to me the other day. He said, you know, John, it used to be in Ohio that we said we were from Cleveland, or we said we were from Columbus, or we said we were from Cincinnati. He said, do you notice what you see when you go in the parades now? What people are wearing? Ohio. Ohio against the world. These are shirts that signify the pride that has come back into this state. Why? I believe it's fundamentally because people believe that no one is being cut out, no one is being demonized, and no one, at least in our efforts, is being left behind. This state has come back. We're not done yet. My friends in the legislature, Dave Hall, I look over here, it's been an amazing time, hasn't it, Dave? But when you walk out of that legislature and you go back to your hometown, you will have pride in the fact that we have not left minorities, the poor, the disabled, anybody else behind. At the same time, we rebuilt our economy and restored pride in our state. These are really important things. And that's what I think we need to do in America. We need to unify. We don't need to divide. We can stand on our principles, but we can still get it right. Now, how about Cleveland? You know, and I'm looking back here, I see my buddy Keith Faber and a guy I'm developing a deep friendship with, Cliff Rosenberger. Is he here as a speaker here this morning? I don't know if he's here. He probably at that country concert last night. He's the best. We have police and security units from all over America. It's unprecedented. In fact, not only is it unprecedented, and I'm going to go over and see them all, and I tell you, it's unbelievable. Yesterday, even the guys in the Michigan troopers wanted to take selfies with me through the window of the SUV. I did promise them a three-point spot in the game this fall, but Our guys have done a great job. Men and women have done a great job in bringing people in from all over America. You know, we don't know what's going to happen today. I mean, there are people who come in here who are absolutely committed to violence. But they've been able to handle them. Our police, our highway patrol have done a fantastic job. But you know what I learned? Yes. And there is nobody in America that I know of, except for perhaps maybe a few crazy people, who do not understand that when you target police, you destroy the fabric of our country, and we will not tolerate it in this country. Okay? But I learned something really important, and you know what it is? If the people don't join the anarchists, we don't have trouble. We went through 3 things in Cleveland. Mike will tell you, the Brelo decision. Then we had the Tamir Rice decision. I said protest, no violence. Then we had 1.3 million Clevelanders go to a rally, and there wasn't even a spilled cup of coffee. And I came up here before this convention started to meet with the community leaders, the ministers. He said, we're opening our churches and we're praying for there to be peace. And we are opening our churches where people will have a safe haven and a refuge to be able to go in the midst of any trouble. Boy, people are coming in here and they're looking at Cleveland and they can't believe it. And somebody said to me the other day, well, you know, Cleveland's getting a reputation. They said, it's not quite Hawaii, but it's starting to feel that way. And the whole state is feeling so good. And I hope you saw a lot of the ads that we've run, letting people know about who we are. And we think at the end of it, there'll be economic gain and job creation that will come from this. Now, Mary Taylor. Mary is the auditor, right? I'm running for governor against an incumbent. We hadn't defeated an incumbent, I don't think, in like 36 years. I had never run statewide. The last time somebody had never run statewide, defeated an incumbent governor, was 96 years ago. So I called Mary. I said, Mary, why don't you leave your job as auditor and come run with me for lieutenant governor? I said, Mary, are you still there? Okay. Donnie, pick her up off the floor. I need to talk to her. That's her husband. And she decided to do it. And she traveled all over this state. Now, let me tell you a couple things about Mary. Mary is really smart. She is a highly intelligent person, and if she could only get her CPA license. Well, Mary is a CPA. You know, it isn't always easy working with me. I'll tell you about one of the most difficult things for her. Not for me, but for her. Decided to expand Medicaid. We've all come to realize, oh boy, controversial. You talk about being the odd man out. Now we find out there have been 500,000 people who have been helped. Mental illness, drug addiction. She supported it. It wasn't easy for her. Because philosophically, she's conservative. Listen, she gave up her committee assignments, her whatever we call it now, chairmanships, chairpersonships, so however you want to say this, because she wouldn't vote for a tax increase in the legislature. Sacrificed it all. Stood tall. Right, Ron? So my buddy Ron Amstutz. Give him a great round of applause. He's a great guy. So she served these 6 years, and she's stood by me, and I'll tell you, we've gotten to be friends. She's had some real struggles. She calls me sometimes about them. I was in Utah at a campaign event, and her sweet son drove and came and visited me, battling his own demons. Gave me a big hug. I told him how much his mother and father loved him and that he was on the mend and he was going to win. Those are really big personal things that happen. And I love her. I'm indebted to her for what she's done to stand with me. And I love the fact that she's a woman. We need more women leaders throughout our entire society, our entire culture. And if I didn't say that when I got home, my daughter Reese would give me hell. So without any further ado, it is my great, great pleasure to introduce the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Ohio, Mary Taylor.